What's up? What's up, guys? Alright, so this is going to be a review of a Turbo PLO8 MTT that I played earlier today. This morning, actually. We did pretty good in this one for not going over 2x starting stack. So we never had a big stack to work with, but I think I made some pretty good decisions, some marginal ones here and there. Let's just hop right into the review. Alright, so this first hand we're just going to fold. Let's get to the ones we actually play. Let's see what happened this one. This is like the very beginning of the tournament, so nothing happens too much. I limped this one. It's only costing us 70 chips. Normally I would fold this, but I figured it wasn't that big of a mistake, and we just fold. Yeah, it's a pretty bad starting hand. Alright, so here's one that we play. Alright, so we have Ace 5, King Jack, with a nut suit, but also one blocker. We're in position, so I think limping behind's fine. My hand does pretty well multi-way, but even so, it's still pretty weak. Mainly because of the suits being gone, but there is a lot of high equity with the King and the Jack. So yeah, all in all, I think limping behind's fine. There's really no reason to raise the hand in position, because I don't want to build that big of a pot and have to like c-bet bluff most of the times when lows hit, and missing my clubs and put myself in a marginal spot like when I have top pair. So I think limping is the best choice there. There can even be an argument for folding, but I think that's a little bit too tight. Alright, big blind, small blind. I think it's completely folded. Not much happened in that hand. It looks like there's, well, no, I'm not really sure how many hands I played. It is a turbo, so the blinds go up pretty quickly. Alright, vanilla rotation, small blind, big blind, nothing much happened. Alright, keep on going. So another rotation I didn't play any hands. Hit the blind. Okay, so there's one that we played. Let's see what happens here. I'm in the small blind with ace deuce and not that great of a suit. Just completing my small blind. We flop the nut low draw. Not much high potential. And then we make middle pair with the nut low draw. And then we complete our nut low draw, and with mid pair, I think it's reasonable to bet here. Might call us a lot worse lows. If he had ace 4, I think he would still call it off. Maybe just something like 2-4 he might call, which is a low. I think unfortunately he had a better high than us. Yeah, so we just had, okay, so he had a decent holding for it being a smaller pot, but we do chop the pot. It's a pretty reasonable hand. Did profit 100 chips from that one. Alright, so here's one we play on the button. Okay, pretty good hand. We have two flush draws, and one of them is a nut suit. And once again, the same as the other hand, we're on the button, so we're just gonna limp it. I don't think there's much reason to raise because our hand doesn't do that great in a big raise pot. This is one of those hands that you're gonna want to see the flop for cheap. Especially in position. I mean, I rarely raise in position unless I have a really strong holding. Okay, let's pause right here. There's a flop. Okay, so we flop like the second nut low draw, and top pair top kicker with a flush draw out there. Now, fortunately, the 2 comes out, so we're losing to any 2. And there's also no low draw, and we just have a pair of 9s. Even though this guy could be bluffing a good chance of the time, even if he is bluffing, I think he has a lot of equity, so I think a call there would be marginal to bad, especially with player 8 left to act behind us. So So I think that was a reasonable hand. I lost some chips there, but I like how we played it. Let's see. I will tell you guys, I have some spicy bluffs coming up. Alright. Spoiler alert. Alright, so we get a very strong hand. Only issue being we're in the small blind. Now, I've experimented with isolating from the small blind or big blind. It normally doesn't end up very well because people call way too often and then it turns into a multi-way pot. It stays a multi-way pot anyways. But this hand would be good to isolate if I was on the button or even the cutoff. But in the small blind, and we're gonna see this this flop multi-way. I think it's fine to just call here. We have like an almost unbreakable low draw, and we flop the nut low draw. Not much going on for the high. We could turn up 4 to make a straight, which would be cool. Alright, so this guy's call. Now I'm not going to raise because I want 8 to come along. More chips to chop up, so I think a call in there is fine. Okay, so the deuce is a really, really good card for us because we maintained the nut low, we also made a pair, but it also breaks a lot of their lows, so there's less likelihood of us chopping now that the 2 came out. Alright, he calls. Now I do something interesting here. Kind of against the grain for my typical strategy in this spot. I decided to like basically min raise it because I figured that if 13 open bet, it's very unlikely that he's just gonna fold to a min raise. Also, with 12 calling 1 bet already, I doubt that he'll fold also to a min raise once 13 calls. So it's kind of like a value min raise because I figured they would all call me and I would still have the nut low for half the pot. Alright, I'll be right back. Go home. Go home. There you go. Alright. My dogs are getting in trouble. Anyways, so I think that raise is fine. I don't know. I think just calling is fine as well. Because we're guaranteed half the pot. But whatever. Okay, so 13 did end up folding, which is just like insane to me. Because he bet and then I min raise, so he must have just had like stone nothing. But like, let's say he folded any pair, or like he had like 2 pair that folded because there was flush out there and a low out there, and he had like a very margin. He folded that. That's pretty good because we're still going. We're still going to win his extra dead chips that he folded, and he might have folded the high hand, which would have been the winner. So on the river here, we kind of get counterfeited, but it's kind of hard to see this guy having what 5-3 because we have a 3 as a blocker. 5-3 would be the nut low, well, also pretty good high possibility. But I doubt this guy has that, and if he does, his hand's very well disguised. So it goes check check, and we win the whole pot. And we don't even get to see his hand, which is interesting. I wonder what he had. So I guess our raise there was good because it was for value. All right, so another. I think this is the same hand that we just watched, right? Yeah. Okay, moving on. Pick up some chips there. Pretty good. Alright, so we played this spot. Suited ace, in position, nut suit. Okay, so we have the second nut low, and our second nut low gets there. I think we also made some type of straight. Okay, so I don't think raising here is good because someone with ace deuce will always call us because they have the nut low. Also flushes will call. but my hand might be good enough to get to showdown because we do have a straight and a pretty good low. Alright, so it goes bet, call, and I call behind. Not risking much of our chips. Okay, so this guy does have the flush, which wasn't going to fold. And this guy has a straight, but none of them have a very good low, so I think I win. Yeah, I win with just a low. His straight wasn't better than mine or better than the flush, and his low wasn't better either. So yeah, I think I played that one fine. And this is a lot of mistakes that people make. Him calling with a very marginal hand in that spot is just kind of a leak, especially with a player to act behind. He doesn't have a good low. He has a straight, but he doesn't have the nut straight. Or and even if he did have the nut straight, he would lose to a flush. So the call from this guy is a huge mistake. And I think that is why I end up calling with like second nut lows here, because players make huge mistakes with very marginal high and low hands sometimes. Like he had a good hand to scoop, but not in a three-way pot, especially when the player to his right is the aggressor. So that's kind of a mistake on his part, but that's okay. We end up taking some chips. Yeah, this game you have to really identify where the dead money comes from, and players like that kind of help some dead money in the pot. All right, so this is an interesting line. I don't love how I played it. So I open limp with the nut suit and the nut low and another low card. So this guy raises it. I think it's a full pot raise. It goes fold fold, and then I just fold behind. I don't know. This is bad. I think it might be bad considering that we have so much low potential. But if we can only win the low, so I don't have much high potential. I think if I had high potential, I would call. But there's so many ways for us to chop this pot, and if we chop it, I'm risking a lot of chips to just win like half of this, right? So I'd be like essentially going for a net of like 100 chips, risking, I don't know, maybe another 2,000 chips to win this much marginally. I mean, I could flop a nut flush draw, and I could flop like a wheel and stuff like that. But with this guy potting here, since I have ace deuce, he might have something like ace 3, but most times he's going to have big pocket pairs that's trying to isolate. I also don't think I had any notes on him at the time, so I figured I would take the safe route and just preserve my chips. Although this is a really good starting hand, even out of position, that just seeing a flop can be bad, and there is plenty of room to just like check fold the flop if we totally miss it too. So this might have been a small mistake. I definitely should have called it and seen a flop. Limp raising definitely isn't an option. You don't want to get it in with just a low potential hand. The flush draw is cool, but you'd rather have like this deuce be like a king. King of clubs would be really cool. Or like a queen. Or I think if this 2 was like a 3, I would have to call because I have way too many low potential and ways to make a straight. But I don't know. This might be too tight of a fold. Right. Let's see. The big blind. Small blind hand. Nothing here. Keep on going. Another big blind. Another small blind gone. Another rotation. 2 rotations that we didn't play any hands, but that's okay. PLO8 is one of those games that you can play like 50% of hands or 20% of hands and still be a profitable player. I think I'm one of those 20% hands, only because of the field that I'm playing in. I feel like people play too many marginal hands, and also they don't play them very well post-flop either. The post-flop play is crucial in this game. You have to know where you're at, and unlike Hold'em, where you get punished a lot for making bad pre-flop decisions, or sorry, you get punished a lot for post-flop decisions. Being selective in PLO8 pre-flop is the name of the game. I mean, that's the biggest spot. All right, so here we flop the nut low draw. We don't have any spades. We do have a spade blocker, which is helpful, and we also have a pair of nines. And I think I decided to take an interesting line here. Normally, I would just like check call this and see a low card turn, but I decided to take a little more aggressive route here, only because if this guy opened up with like ace deuce and this guy completed his thing with ace deuce, it's very hard for them to continue well without a king in their hand. And even if they do, I am putting a lot of pressure by betting larger. So the deuce hits the turn, which is another really bad card for us. We'd rather see a low card. And if this guy does have ace deuce, he's going to be in a really good spot. But let's say he doesn't have ace deuce and just has a king. It would be a really good spot for us to bet then, because his king now loses to any ace deuce that I might have bet, right? Since I bet, my hand is very well disguised. It also puts a lot of pressure on just flush draws, and let me see. Even if he had like a pocket pair, better than my nines, like I don't know, tens, jacks, queens. I doubt he has aces. Tens, jacks, queens. This is a lot of pressure on those hands. And if he just has a low draw too, that puts a lot of pressure on that hand too. And let's say he does have ace 3 and he folds it. That's a really good result for us because we don't have to chop the pot up. And he does call, which is kind of worrisome. I'm kind of worried that he might have a 2 here. But it's kind of hard to see him calling the flop with just a 2 and nothing else. So either he has a really big draw, or he has a king and is being sticky. Anyways, so the river comes out at 10. This is a really good card for us to bluff, I think, only because it doesn't complete any straights. All of his flush draws missed. If he has just a king, it's really hard for him to call with just a king here on the river. Especially that I bet 3 streets. So I have all of the pocket 7s, all of the random deuces, maybe even pocket 10s, and even maybe like a king with a better kicker than he does. I'm representing all of those hands, and him check calling, he really only represents missed low draws and missed spades or a king, which would win in this situation. But I think this is a really good spot for us to bluff. And it works out because he does fold. So I think that's just a really good spot for bluffing, especially with the backup nut low draw. And I think I can get away with that in a 3-way pot. I probably wouldn't do it if there was like one more player in the pot, just because it's harder to bluff that many people off. But luckily, one guy folded on the flop, and went heads up, so I could put maximum pressure on this guy. So I think that's a really good play. He might have, we might have had the best hand the whole way with pocket 9s, but whatever. And let's say he like river to 10 and he still folded that, another good result for us. So I really like the way I played the hand, and it's a really good bluffing line. All right, so that's probably my favorite hand that I played of the tournament. I don't often bluff in PLO8 because there's not much value in it. People are calling too much. But I think in that situation, given the board texture in our hand, I think it was a really good spot to pick up some unwanted chips in the middle. And if I can ever pick up a pot without showdown, that's just really good. Alright, so there's another rotation where we didn't play any hands. The blinds are 250, 500 now, so they're getting up there. It is a turbo. And I think... Okay, so we won this blind. Let's check this one out. So we have ace, queen, 9, deuce. Pretty margin hand. We raise and everyone folds. Okay. Nice to pick up some free chips. And I won back our blinds. A big blind hand. Small. Oh, I complete this one, but I don't know. I think it's kind of boring. We're not gonna check that one out. Fun hands only. The blinds were almost at 1,000. So yeah, this is a pretty fast tournament. Alright, so get hit with a big blind and have to fold. Small blind fold. Alright, so I think this is a big pot where we lose. Spoiler alert. Okay, so I have aces. In the cutoff, I really want to get heads up with one of these guys. And if he shoves all in, we have definitely an advantage. He does call, so we're just gonna run out the board. Flop a set of aces, and I think he rivered us straight on us, which is really brutal. Let me see. Yeah, I mean we had equity for days. Unfortunate result. Could have been worse. He could just like flop to flush, and we could have been behind the whole way. But that's okay. So that kind of cripples our stack size. But luckily the next hand, what happened here? Okay, so big blind special. We have a very marginal hand, and flop 2 pair. This guy pots it. Now when he pots it, he could easily have like ace 3 of diamonds, and that would be like the worst case scenario. But he could just have naked diamonds, really bad low draws. And I only have a pot size bet left, so I think I have to go with it with my 2 pair here. I don't really have any backup low draws. Do I have a backup straight draw? Does an 8 make me a straight? 7, 8, 9, 10? I don't think so. Anyways, I think this is a fine spot to get in considering my stack size, and I only have a pot size bet left. You could argue waiting, and I think it would be okay, but let's say we folded and we did wait, we would only have like 2,000 chips after getting hit by the small blind. So yeah, I think we're just gonna get in. This guy does call. Luckily though, we make a full house, which is pretty good for us. Hopefully there's a high card in the river. Unlike for us, it's a low card, so low's got there. Like this guy's ace 5. This guy had queens and a flush draw. But your flush is no good, buddy. We have full house. So kind of lucky there. So when this guy potted it, I mean he had a really good hand potting it. But we did have a better hand than he did, flopping 2 pair. Luckily we turned the full house, which locks up the high for us. That's basically the nut high. Unlike for us, the board got a low on the river, so his ace 5 qualifies. We only win half the pot, but it's better than none. So pretty good run out for us there. Kind of lucky. But once you flop 2 pair, I think it's time to go with it. Alright, so I'm sitting here now. This is the very next hand. Ace deuce nut suit, small blind, we're going to limp it like I normally do. I do bet out here with top pair and a nut low draw. I think my strategy here is just like bet and not fold. We have too much equity, and we could have the best hand a lot of the times. So the nut low hits, we still have top pair. This guy does call us. And we scoop the pot. He called us with... Oh, and we made a straight in the river, which helps our cause. But he did flop 2 pair with like some gut shots in there. Luckily the 9 hit, or else he would have won half the pot. But I think he has like 4 pair. 4 pair no good, buddy. 4 pair no good. But yeah, I think his call is reasonable. He has 2 pair and a flush draw. No real low potential. It might even be better for him to like just shove after my bet, because his hand doesn't do that great multi-way. Also, he doesn't have a low draw, so he really wants to punish people who just have a low and that are just going to go for it. So yeah, that's another little leak that I see in a lot of people's games. He really should have gotten it in, because I mean, even if I didn't have the 10 and let's say I just had like ace deuce, like 3, I have a really good low draw, but if it misses out, he wins the whole pot. So I think that's a spot for him to really get his chips in good. Alright, so we're at 13k, which is really good. Let's see. Ooh, we lose this pot here. Alright, so we're slightly over 2x starting stack, or we're getting close to 3x starting stack. Alright, so let's play this hand over. What happened? My kind of fast. Let's try again. I think I get kind of feisty. 3/4, yeah, 3/64. Check. The flop comes like this. Oh no. Okay. So this is a weird line. It maybe it's too tight. I don't know. But I did flop the straight. With 3/6. So I have a straight to the 7. With no low yet. But I bet out. So betting out here, I think it's fine. I mean, we probably have the best high hand, but I think the only problem with this bet is it inflates the pot with a lot of bad turns to come out of position. If I was in position, I think it would be fine. But out of position, betting here with one guy left behind us might be kind of bad. Because he could just have like ace-3 or ace-deuce and just not fold anymore with some backdoor flush draws. Okay, so the jack hits the turn, which completes the flush draws, and then he bets, and I'm pretty sure I just fold. I'm not sure if it's too tight. I mean, it should be fine because we don't have the nuts straight, right? I mean, he could have 6-8, and then he wins the high all the time. He could have turned a flush, so we could be losing that high. We don't have a low, or no, we do have a low, but it's a very, very bad low. We have like 7-6, 5-4-3. So our straight is our low, but that's only a 76 low, which isn't that great because he could easily have a 75 if he has ace deuce, ace 3, even ace 6. Ace 6 would beat us. So yeah, there's a lot of combinations there. I think it's just very, very marginal spot for us to be in. And I think the mistake might be the bet on the flop. So let's say the stuff didn't happen. I didn't bet on the flop and he just like checked and then the flush hits. I can actually represent a flush better, which might make him check and we get to see a showdown. But regardless, I mean, we didn't lose that many chips. I think it's just a small spot that we can tidy up our play there. Alright, moving along. Small blinds. Here. Yeah, I really wasn't getting value from very many hands on my bet on the flop there, right? Because the only things that are going to call me is like nut low draw, flush draws, better straights, sets, which I have okay equity against. But I think maybe I should just folded or check and see the turn and evaluate from there. Alright, and this is a small blind hand. We just lost 1.2k because of the big blind. So our stack size is slowly diminishing. We have like 10 big blinds, less than 10 big blinds left. I think this is the final table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do know that 5 places pay, so I think we're on the bubble. I'm not sure if that affects any hands that we play or not. It definitely affects our general strategy because we definitely want to cash. I think the min cash was right here. Min cash was $16, and we're in for 7. So that's a really, really big min cash. It's over 2x your buy-in. So you definitely want to play lockdown poker at this point. Well, for me, not playing lockdown poker is fine. I mean, I've won this multiple times. And maybe I should be playing for the win. But at the same time, the money is something cool to compete for. Or just like folding in min cash can't be awful. Okay, so this is a flop that I like betting more than checking. Because betting will get him to fold a lot of high equity hands. So let's say he has something like any pocket pair, right? I'm losing to that. So I really think I should be betting this flop more often with the nut low draw in position. It's on the bubble too, so maybe that affected my decisions. Luckily, we turn a flush draw with the nut straight draw or the nut low draw, and he just folds, which is a good result for us. I would just rather bet the flop. I don't think he check raises too often. on the bubble. Oh no. Yeah, so this could be the end of our review because the poker client has crashed. Ah, sad day. Well, anyways, so the end of that tournament, I ended up 4th for 24 bucks. We did ladder up one time, and we played a lot of survival poker just to get the extra ladder, which is fine. Let me see. The last hand that I played, I think I had about 6 or 5 big blinds. I mean, the blinds go very quickly because of the turbo. I had like ace. No, I had queen, queen, 8 deuce under the gun, 4-handed, and I think I potted it because when you're short-handed, your high equity hands go up a lot. Now I don't know if it goes up enough to justify me raising bad queens, right? Because I have like a low draw, but it's not very good if you have 8 deuce. So I bet. So I got one call from the big blind, and I think it was like the flop king 7-4 or something like that. So I still had a live low draw, but not a very good one. And I'm losing to a pair of kings. There's also 2 diamonds out there, but I just had like a pot size bet left, so I decided to put it in the middle. And the guy called, and then I think he just had a king or something like that, and I didn't make a low in the river, or maybe I made a low, but it wasn't good enough. And then we basically busted out the tournament there. So yeah, that's a spot for me to check with like 6 big blinds. Should I be looking to get it in with any pocket pair higher than like 10, something like that? I'm not sure. There are also, I mean, as far as high equity goes, queen, queen, 8 deuce isn't that great. So maybe that's a mistake. Maybe I could have waited for a different hand. But all in all, I like the way I played. I really like the bluff that I pulled off. Yeah, I think I played fine. Alright, hopefully we can win it next time. Still looking for my first tournament win of the month. Even though we've probably made more money than we did last month, but whatever. Anyways, thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.